What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Apex, the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a couple weeks since the Hal interview. We took a little bit of time off because we had some stuff going on in our personal lives. We felt like if there was ever a little bit of a time to take a slight break, it would be right after talking to the CEO, Imperial Hal. But we are back with a little bit of news here, a little bit of news there, not a whole lot. Once again, we are in the dog days of competitive right now. We do have BLGS going on, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, but we still have a long way to go before we reach to the end of champs in Japan. So it's going to be a little while, but at the very least, dude, this is why BLGS is so great. The fact that we still have something to talk about while we're waiting in between, while we get ready for champs. And what better guest to have on the show today than Greek, who was a part of BLGS on the B stream. He was awesome to talk to. A good hour, 15, hour 20 with him, talking about his come up, all that kind of stuff. We'll get to that in just a moment. But I guess first, the big thing we got to talk about here is E-District is going to be in champs. I think that's the biggest bit of news because I don't think any of us expected them to put in the map this early. I didn't expect it. I don't know if you guys did. It seemed like something that they were going to wait for the next year to do, but they said, fuck it. We're doing it right now. E-District is in, and we are going to see it at champs. How are you guys feeling about that?
I'm excited for it. I really am. Like, even playing E-District in like some sort of scrim lobbies and everything like that, I think it plays out great when you get to those endgame situations. I was saying this later on, but like, like everything feels like kind of like a skyhook game. It can keep a lot of teams alive, and it provides a lot of really intense gameplay. I think a lot of the complaints when E-District came out was the lack of loot. I believe that they've updated it and improved that. So
They have.
so it's been better. I think some of the POIs, like I said, is the layout of where the loot is makes it really rigid to actually loot the POIs and like get things fast. I don't really like that part of it. I think if they like, that's just my favorite part about the game. But other than that, I think that it is an amazing map to enter the comp pool now, and I'm excited to see something new after, I want to say, 2 years. I think it was beginning of 2022 when Stormpoint joined. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's definitely exciting. It's going to spice things up. And I think the end games are like, Jumbo, you mentioned it in the interview about how it gives like Skyhook vibes, where you just get so many bodies. I think that there's just so many different spots on that map where you can just fit so many different teams. And I think that there's going to I think it's a map that you can have a lot of diversity in the like team comps that teams are going to be running as well. And so it should be just overall good Apex.
Yeah, and going to more of why I think this is going to be a good move, because I do think this is going to be a good move, is that at least when I've been playing it and just experiencing what E-District brings, it to me feels like it just has a competitive vibe to it with the amount of different varying, high ground, low ground versus cover, no cover. Like, I think one of the biggest issues with a map that is based around a city, we saw it with Olympus, is sometimes there is just way too much open space. And what they did with this one was they cut all of that shit out. There is always a place to hide. There's always a place to go when you're playing on E-District. And I think that's going to make for probably some of the craziest end games that we could have. And I know I'm jumping the gun a little bit because we haven't even seen it yet, at least not that much. But I do think it's going to be a very good thing for Apex moving forward. I've also thought of the idea of them potentially removing a map to put in this one. I don't know if they would do that. They might run all three. Have you guys heard if it's going to be all three, or is it like confirmed that this is just adding in a third map? They're not taking anything out.
I don't know if I'm spoiling it. I know Greek in the interview was mentioning something about all three, but I haven't heard anything confirmed about that. And still logistically, like, maybe they have a way, but logistically, I don't understand how they would do 3 maps in one set with a POI draft, because I just don't understand how you would like have someone like right now. It's like in LAN, like first, like the first overall seed gets first and 21st pick. I don't know, like, do you do like first, 21st, and like what you give them like somewhere in the middle? I just don't understand how that works. Now the other option could be is that they have in a set 2 maps, but at the tournament they have 3 maps in rotation. The thing with that is they got to find a way to balance it. You don't want people saying, well, there's more randomness where like one lobby was playing World's Edge E District, and other lobbies played World's Edge Storm Point. And like, how is that balanced when like E District, there's so much more RNG, like less knowledge about it, where they're playing like the maps where they've been playing it for years. So you don't want to run to that. So I don't know. Logistically, I don't know how like 3 maps would work, but I'm assuming they'd have a way. Also, too, at champs, the bracket stages are always 8 games. 8 is not divisible by 3. So unless they up it to 9 games, again, I don't know how they really work that into like 3 maps into the bracket stage there. But nonetheless, I'm sure they'll figure it out. I'm sure they have some sort of plan. On match point, I don't think it would matter at all. They could do 2-2-2. They could do 1-1-1 and rotate between maps every single game. It would be really interesting, the way similar to like what they did in Saudi Arabia with EWC, where they did 1-1-1 with the maps, right? Like, what's it take to throw one more in there? So that's all possible. Nothing confirmed there, but regardless, still looking forward to it. Rotations are also really interesting on E District, because there are certain POIs where you are really held out by waiting for the team in front of you to rotate, which I think just makes it interesting like about the advantages of different POIs. Like everyone's always said Dome is a bad POI because you got launch site to the left, you got big mod stacks in front of it, you got Siphon, and if you want to rotate fast, you can't. You're going to get shot out by all those teams, so you have to wait for them. I think Old Town has taken over as the new worst POI in all of Apex. That shit is hot ass, and Humbert Labs is right next. Like, you can drop and Humbert Labs can already be looting and shooting you while you're dropping. It is terrible, that POI.
Old Town's not that bad. He's just a hater.
I think it's
that's
terrible.
one of my go-to rank drops.
No,
that is all reliable.
Terrible.
You land. You got nothing but you got nothing behind you. You got Hubert Labs in front of you. No, dude. Old Town is so reliable.
Join a scrim lobby. Join the scrim lobby when Humbert Labs chases your ass off drop every single fucking time.
You just chase them.
You chase them back. You just turn it back on them.
Just
kill them. Ever thought about that? That's a possibility.
Yeah, have you thought about using the weapons that you pick up on the ground to kill them?
You're right. Honestly,
I don't think you thought of it.
To be clear, all due respect, love my teammates. We may not have thought about that in those moments.
That's something
that we didn't think about it.
Like,
we were under the mindset of run. We were in the mindset of run.
Yeah, no, I feel that. No, I'm a big draft point guy. I want to see you Lance draft point. That'd be my spot. I think that's the thing that I love most about when I see a new map come in, and we haven't seen one in so long, is like the places you drop, figuring out that they're either ass or really good. Because especially when you're playing with your friends, they always tell you like, why do you always drop here? This place sucks. And then when you drop there or you watch the pros go there and like, yeah, this is a top tier POI. This is one of the best. There's no better feeling. There's no better, because I said early days of Storm Point, I was like, Mill, I fucking love the Mill. This place is awesome. And then they were like, why do you always land here? No, the Mill is awesome. And we found out that the Mill was awesome. So that's a low-key great part. You can
like draft
finish
point
arguments
right now,
with your friends.
Right now, the POIs are saying their tops are like EDAM. Everyone says EDAM. They like it a lot. What else? Draft point, I think, is up there. Stadium, I think, is a sleeper pick. Stadium's got really good loot. But again, Stadium has a little bit of those interesting rotations where you can have like some, like the Heights team or the Galleria team just so close to you when you're leaving that you can either get some quick KP if you send it on them, or you have to wait till they move to zone first if you want to get to zone. So
by far worst POI, the Lotus. The Lotus worst POI of all time. I hate the Lotus with all my heart.
I think that's crazy. Lotus
worst,
is pretty sick.
Worst. I will stand on this show right now and say the Lotus is the worst.
Drop Old Town for a full fucking day and tell me.
I'm gonna drop Old Town. I'm gonna hop on Enoch's POI here. I'm gonna go Old Town and see how bad it is. I want to see.
It's not that bad, bro.
Doesn't
you
look.
Can eat,
I mean, it is the very bottom
from Old Town. I'm just saying, you have nobody 3P in your back, and you just got Hubert Labs in front of you, and it's just free. And sometimes you can even grief that, like, you either force the Hubie team to triple land on their side that's closest to you, and delay their loot, like make it take longer for them, and they have to loot away from you, or you can even just jack their shit. And then you run back and you just go loot Old Town.
What's your? You know, I'm curious, real quick. Rip through it. What are your go-to POIs on every map when you're dropping ranked?
Okay.
I'm curious.
Go.
Every map.
So let's go. Okay, Broken Moon.
Let me get the map in front of me.
While he
That'll
goes,
make this
I'll
way
go
easier.
because I've got him ready to go.
Okay.
On Olympus, Big Blue.
Big Blue
There's
Dick.
another word
Carrier.
after.
By the
Big
way,
Blue
that's
Dick, carrier.
Carrier.
For E District, it has always been Draft Point.
Draft Point's good.
For
Draft Point.
Kings Canyon, Relic. For World's Edge, damn, that's a tough one actually. World's Edge, I'd probably go Overlook the most.
I was gonna say you're definitely. I could have called you an Overlook guy from
Dude,
so far away.
Yeah.
World's Edge.
Why it's such an Overlook
World's
guy.
Edge, Big Mod is
Big Mod?
the
Yeah,
my
Big
Mod's a
absolute
good one.
go-to favorite. Trials is also OP if you play with a Newcastle.
I just knew why it was an Overlook guy. I don't know
Dude,
why.
but Big Mod is my absolute like go-to favorite. Like I love getting the mod weapons. Such a good time. Broken Moon, right? Got it up in front of me. Dry Gulch is probably the place I land at the most.
Yeah.
Breaker Wharf. I think I'm looking at it. Yeah, Breaker Wharf is also very OP. And Spaceport, if there's two teams going Dry Gulch. And then an absolute sleeper pick. One of my most gay kept slept on spots. Experimental Labs slaps. And I will not explain why.
Okay.
But
That's all we needed. I think the only map I didn't say was Broken Moon, and that's Alpha Base. Unless I'm playing my games for the other pod, I'll go Quarantine Zone. But if I'm just trying to win the game, Alpha Base. I love Alpha Base to death.
And then KC go-to spots are Crash Site is the like best loot. Spotted Lake's really fun.
Yeah, I like Spotted.
Caustic is a good time, can be. And the place that's outside of Rig is all reliable. I forget what it's called, but it's the place to the left of Rig. Basin. Yep, that's the one. That would be it. And then what's the other map?
World's Edge? Did you do World's Edge yet?
Yeah, Big Mod.
I did Big Mod.
You said Big Mod.
Yeah.
Okay.
Olympus.
Olympus Gardens is home, and Docks can be also very good, and then Elysium / Hydro. Those are all like my go-to, but I would say Gardens is probably my number one.
So see, the Gardens versus Old Town pick is interesting because Gardens is one I feel like people want to contest all the time every time I'm dropping Gardens. Where then Old Town, I can't imagine anyone wants to drop there except for you.
Well,
I mean, hey, it just depends on what you're looking for.
Depends on what you're looking for. Exactly.
Fair enough.
That was a fun little exercise there. That's fun. That was fun.
Yeah, I can't even give my maps my POIs by the way, because I just drop random every fucking time I play ranked.
There's no way you don't have a favorite, dude.
I honestly shift Jump Master off myself all the time. Kings Canyon, I've been enjoying Spotted. I like Containment, but I hate how many freaking people want to also drop Containment. We've been dropping Artillery a lot, but so I'll deal with that. So Artillery, I like that side of the map. Usually, I don't know. Let's think. World's Edge, I can't think of a POI. I consistently drop on World's Edge. I go everywhere. I like Clima, not Overlook. I was dropping Overlook for BLGS sometimes, but not my pick. I don't think I'd go there. But I like Clima, so maybe Clima. Where what else? E District. There's a bunch. I like a bunch. I like Draft Point. I do like Draft Point a lot. I was starting to like Stadium. Stadium gets a lot of good fucking loot.
Nobody really lands Stadium either. I'm surprised by that. I thought more people would land there, but they don't. At least in my games.
Okay, this might be crazy. At least for BLGS, I became a huge Jurassic lover for Storm Point. Every time I dropped there, I walked out with insane loot, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Why the fuck does this place have such good loot?"
Oh,
so what?
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't even say Storm Point.
Yeah.
The butt. You drop down into the butt, and then you go all the way.
Command.
Yeah.
Command's pretty good too.
I don't go
command
through the butt though. I go like there's the double
door.
doors at the front, or I go through the window because there's that window you can fly through on the top.
Yeah. I do like Jurassic for like the loot, but I will say the thing I don't like about Jurassic is if I ever have to go north. So if I had to command something like that, like I don't know, or what's the one up the top? Not Echo, not Elrod. What's to the left of Elrod? Cedo. No, Cedo's at the bottom. Echo's at the top. Okay, Echo.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that. I don't know what I can't remember the other maps. What have I done yet? I did Storm Point, did World's Edge, did E District, did Kings Canyon, Broken
Olympus.
Moon. I don't play Broken Moon enough at all to freaking talk about Broken Moon. So unfortunately, I don't have a Broken Moon drop. And then Olympus, yeah, Big Blue, pretty good.
Big Blue.
Big
Big
Blue
Blue is always good. Or Docks.
There's so many places though. I drop estates all the time. Big Blue, Gardens. No, I don't go Docks.
Lifeline's place isn't bad.
Hydroponics.
Lifeline's place isn't bad. Also, Power Grid. Power Grid's not bad either. You
Power
always get a
Grid.
team there. You
Oh,
can get your hands dirty a little bit. Get some blue.
Wait, is that? Let me see the Olympus map real quick. There is one POI that, like, when I don't know where to drop, it's my go-to every time. Yeah, Power Grid. It's Power Grid.
Power Grid. Yeah. You get if you're the type of guy who needs to start off with like getting a good fight win under your belt to start
Power Grid's
off.
my number one.
Power
on
Grid's the
Olympus.
best because
Power
there's
Grid
always
is
a
the
team
number
there.
one.
You get some loot, climb up on some buildings, shoot some dudes, you kill them, and you're feeling good for the rest of your game. And then you die to the next team you see. At least in my experience. So yeah, that's just how it goes. I love that exercise. That was sick.
Yeah.
I love those. Do we have any other news other than E District? I guess that we had the one BLGS, the first qualifier. We had the winner of that qualifier.
All I saw was, unfortunately, yeah, we could go through them if you want me to pull them up.
I'm trying to right now, and Liquipedia crashes on me every single time.
We got to be battle Battlefy for this.
I know,
man.
I know. Enoch has told me to start using Battlefy, and I just can't kick my ways. I'm
so
stuck.
we got Moist, who won, and funny enough, Energy, who got second. But I think there's a big upset. Energy this week, I don't think it's going to be in finals, so they went from second to not making finals this week. Moist won from the Americas because it's also, by the way, it's combining both South America and North America. Again, something very similar to those super regional tournaments back in the day with the winter, summer, autumn circuit. That was always like Americas. It had everyone, not just North America, South America. Go next with Uchako Hayarka, and I don't know how to pronounce this last guy's name. Is it Izidon? Or Hedon. Anyways, I'm not familiar with that pro actually, but they came first in EMEA, APAC South. We had Kill Devil, again, another team I'm not too familiar with, but pretty cool to see new names pop up. And then who would have thought? Absolute shocker. Fnatic won from APAC North.
Who?
Fnatic.
Okay.
Fnatic. Yeah. Fnatic
was a joke.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you know this. Fnatic, I think, and although they're like different people like on the rosters, but Fnatic as the team has been like first in APAC North Pro League, I think, for like the last 4 splits straight or something like
dominant.
That. It's crazy. It's
dominant.
Crazy. Yeah. So that's that. It's been really interesting, really fun to see like a lot of the upsets. Like I mentioned, there's a team. I know the main person whose team it is Usakis, and then 3D Shiro. I'm not sure they're third, but they're not a pro team or anything like that. And they've made finals back-to-back weeks, and that's pretty cool to see. And I think like that is like the heart and spirit of BLGS. So shout out to them. Only other thing I want to mention is Enoch. Dude, you've been asking for it every single week. I don't know if you've been seeing now, but Maggie is finally entering that mix, man. Maggie is finally getting into the season running. You've been saying it.
He's
dude.
an oracle.
I was the guy. I'm not. I like to say that I was right. I was there. I was on the money. I knew it was a matter of time.
Makes so much sense.
It's just going to be more and more.
It just makes so much sense with all the Newcastles that like Maggie needed to enter. Obviously, like they can't shoot through the charged shield. But like, if anyone's ever behind a Moby shield, one Maggie drill and you're fucked. And then something pros have to really keep in mind of is what they do oftentimes is they'll put down their Newcastle wall, and then in front of the Newcastle wall, they'll throw their Q. But if that Q is in front of the wall, you can shoot a Maggie drill at it and it will go through both walls. So you're fucked again. So it's like an extra level of things that pros have to keep in mind now because Maggie's entered that mix. She's good.
Enoch's just calling everything. He's saying Maggie's going to be good. Old Town's the greatest. You know, he's just calling things left and right.
Left
and right.
Just I'm right.
He's just right. Who doesn't love to be right? All right. Well, ladies and gents, that should just about do it for the news portion of the show. We're going to send it on down to our interview with Greek. It was a great time with Greek. And at a certain point, this is what I'm really hopeful for, boys, is I'm hoping that at some point Greek or Wig on the B stream uses the championship celebration after somebody wins a game in the group stages. I just need to see that get ripped one time. Because if I see that, that's going to make my week. It's going to make my day. It's going to make my year. Because I just need to see that. I need to see. I really want it to be a really bad celebration too. I want to see somebody just fuck up a dab so badly that when they're not dab so badly that when they go in there, they try, they suck. Somebody's just like bad celebration. Can't happen. Won't happen. They won't win. I just want to see it one time. I'd love to see that. So if you're watching this interview and you're aware of our championship celebration thing, I would like to see that. But no, seriously though, it was a great time with Greek. Great time with him. I think about hour 15, hour 20, just full story, everything, how everything came together, as well as the B stream and the BLGS stuff. So without further ado, ladies and gents, let's hit a quick ad and send it on down to Greek. All right, here we are, ladies and gents. For the first time on the show, we have a very special guest, Greek, from the B stream, BLGS. He is on the show for the very first time, and it's very exciting. And I guess the first thing we could say is just congratulations. Just signed with Complexity. It's got to feel good. Got to feel great. How did that feel, man?
Honestly, man, it felt like a weight off my shoulders. I've been unsigned now for 2 years, and I got to be honest, man, I was starting to lose hope. I had talked to a lot of orgs, and it went out to like a lot of dead ends, and I ended up with Complexity, and I couldn't honestly be happier, man. They're amazing.
I was gonna ask you if it felt like that weight off your shoulders, and you know what? That just immediately reminded me of something. Like I've been like thinking to myself, like, damn, like it'd be cool to like get signed to an org. And like you say, you lost hope. I lost hope because I was like, how the fuck is Greek out here not getting signed? And then like I want to get signed to something. Like I just I don't see this happening. But then like you know what? Like seeing that now, maybe it brings some hope back. I don't know.
That's honestly how I felt like too, because I was looking around, and there weren't many content creators getting signed recently. It's been very, very quiet, and like I said, I talked to probably maybe 6 different orgs, and it went all into dead ends and ended up getting ghosted. And I was like, man, it is tough out here. But like I said, I got lucky, and I found someone who believes in me and my community, and just very, very happy to have the opportunity.
Yeah, I would definitely say it was not lucky. You've been putting in the work, and it was only just a matter of time. And you love to see it.
Yeah, I agree. Because like that's even my thing. I was like, this dude puts in so much effort. And like, have you not been like top 3, like most hours streamed, like for like several months now? Like between
a couple,
yeah,
a couple. I feel like you normally see the same names up there. It's E's up there, We the People, me, and some others for sure. But I wouldn't say like every consecutive month, but I've definitely been in there a couple times for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's one of the great things to see too, because it's one of those where, like you said, we've been watching for so long. Like, when is this going to happen? It needs to happen at some point. I like Jumba said, there's a lot of creators out there who like you look at and you say that person needs to get signed before anything happens anywhere else. Like that person needs to be there. So it was great to see your name get scooped up off the list. And honestly, gaming recently, not just in Apex, but across the board, it's just been a weird time. There's just been a lot of things going down. So for this domino to fall, I think it feels a lot better for the community. It feels a lot better, especially for us on this pod too, just watching somebody who's put in so much time be able to get that. So congratulations to you. It's been great. I kind of wanted to move and go back into a time where, obviously you and Jumbo have had the conversation about like how you got into this, but right. I kind of wanted to start at the beginning. How did Greek become Greek? How did you get into gaming and eventually get to this point? I guess we'll start at the very beginning of just getting into gaming and your early upbringing.
Gaming in general, or are we talking early Apex?
I would say gaming in general. Back? Yeah, I'd say gaming in general.
So I guess to start off would be to thank my older brothers for that. I have 2 older brothers. both like in their 40s now, late 30s, early 40s for the other one. And yeah, I mean, they brought me into it. I started on pretty much just a very old PC, and my brother used to play like tier 2 semi-pro Counter-Strike. And I remember I used to just sit there during his matches, and I'd be that annoying little brother that like would always be asking questions while he was like mid-match. And I think I like started early on just really enjoying gaming from just watching them, and started out on an MMO, the one that I'm currently playing on stream now, Final Fantasy 11. I started playing that super, super young. And then I got an Xbox, and the first 2 games were Call of Duty 4 and then Halo 3. That's it definitely started there.
You have a brother who's was a semi-pro Counter-Strike player, and you're a controller player. How does he feel about that?
To be honest, man, I talk to my brothers pretty frequently, and they always say that they wish streaming was like a thing when they were competing, because that was back in the time where, you know, if they wanted to go to, you know, a couple $1,000 Counter-Strike LAN or whatever, I remember helping my brother pack up his PC like in the car. You'd have to bring your own monitor, your own PC. And I mean, they're super supportive, and they tell me all the time it feels like I'm living out like their early dream.
When you were sitting there asking the questions, kind of backseat gaming, I relate to that a little bit, because I had a cousin he wasn't like, I wouldn't say he was ever like a semi-pro, but he was good enough to where sometimes teams would ask him to like fill in during a scrim or something. And I would sit there and watch, and I would do the exact same thing. Like, you have so many questions and you're wondering why certain things are happening. My cousin, luckily, was super nice about it, even though I could tell sometimes he didn't want to, especially when they were losing. Was your brother nice about it, or was it when you were asking questions like, please shut up, I'm in the middle of something?
I think I had a bad habit of asking him questions whenever they were losing rather than when they were winning.
Just the
So I
worst
think
times.
I just get the tilt out a little bit, catch the tail end of the tilt. But
Buddy's trying to clutch up
yeah.
a 1v5, and Greek's like, so why didn't you smoke there?
Yeah. My brother was always good at like trying to explain to me stuff like that. So when I started in like Call of Duty and Search and Destroy and playing like game battles and stuff like that, like I kind of like resonated a little bit of like the tactics and like the teamwork with the comms and stuff like that.
Yeah, so then you watch all that, and then you say you get into Call of Duty 4 and Halo 3. I think that's kind of like my sweet spot as well. Is like, that's kind of where everything kind of picked up a little bit. You started to realize it wasn't just like, oh, I'm playing like a Star Wars game from the movie or something. You're like, oh, there's actually like fun stuff that I can do out here. When you start doing that, was it early on that you realized you were just kind of better than a lot of people, or were you kind of just at like a regular level at that time?
So like when I would be playing pubs and stuff, I would always obviously tend to gravitate towards like the top of the leaderboard. And then I would always play with people from like my school, whether it was like middle school, high school, and they're always just like nowhere close. That I felt like I had to take that next step, which for me was playing game battles. And you know, you definitely get humbled a little bit when you go into those and you're actually going against people who are also taking it seriously. But I think early game battles like really got me into like competitive, and in my head like kind of planted that seed of like, you might have something here, you know, because I always found it so much fun. There were always so many matches, and I would rather, you know, play a 1v1 search and destroy, 2v2, 3v3, 4v4 rather than just like hopping into a pub. Like I couldn't wait to finish school, get off soccer practice, and just go right home and just rip game battles for the rest of the night.
Those are wagers, though, right?
Well, there's a couple different websites, but the one that I did was not wagers.
Oh, okay.
You could like sign up with like Game Battles credits, which you would pay for, and then you'd put your credits into a pot, and then you would play that tournament out for like that pot.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, it was like, where were you getting this money from? Like put up for
Brother's
wagers.
Brother's account.
Stealing your brother's money to put up some wagers for game battles.
What was what was your favorite game battle like era? What game was your favorite to compete in at that time?
I definitely like 2v2 search and destroy. I would anything that was up there, I would always have like a good friend or whatever that I would play with, and we would accept hardcore search and destroy, core search and destroy. Radar always on. It didn't matter. Anything 2-on-2, I like really enjoyed, which I guess translated to when I played Halo. My favorite was also duos in Halo.
Did you ever play when Modern Warfare, like right before like Warzone like really blew up again? Like they brought 2v2s into Modern Warfare, and it was the first thing that ever felt to me like that old era
Gunfight.
of like, yeah, like it just felt like that old era, like Call of Duty all over again, right? I'm talking like
played a
Modern
little
Warfare
bit.
2019, right? But like I binged it in the beta and then never played it when the actual game came out, honestly.
Yeah,
So.
I haven't played Call of Duty in a very long time. There hasn't been any like itch that I wanted to like scratch there with Call of Duty. I haven't bought one in many years.
For sure.
So then it transitions from you're doing all that, and then now we can kind of get into the early Apex time of it. And I guess this kind of feeds into streaming as well. Like they're both kind of intertwined in that way.
Right.
Kind of walk us through like that beginning era of the Apex and the streaming, and how you kind of got into all that.
So I initially started streaming. Like the first time I ever hit go live was right off my Xbox, and I was playing Destiny, and I was doing Trials of Osiris carries, where I would just like get 2 random people from chat, and like all I wanted from them was to just like follow my Twitch channel, and I would just try to like 1v3 my way through 9 wins to get to what was called the Lighthouse at the time. That's where you'd get like the best loot. So I started out there, and then that transitioned into like Fortnite wagers, which I started streaming, and then Apex came out, and I started there, and it was just kill grinding. It was just 8 hours straight of landing at Skull Town and just trying to get as many kills as you can before you died.
All right, we'll have to throw back to Destiny 2. What was your success rate? How long are we talking? What did it take?
So Destiny 2, I didn't really play. It was Destiny 1.
Okay, you know, Destiny 1 might be. Did your Trials of Osiris carries? Like, how did that go? Were you that guy?
I would say I was probably around like 40% if I was doing it solo. But if I had a friend doing it, we were like right up there with like one try, and we were getting someone up there. Just
Love
about.
that.
I was like very high elo with that. But
Fire.
the solo ones were definitely tough when you got to like the later rounds.
I just imagine you playing
tough.
with just 2 noobs, and you're just out here just putting in the work.
Telling them both to fast res. That's all it is, baby.
Dude, I don't know how I didn't know this. I used to love Destiny. Like we talked about Fortnite and stuff like that, but Destiny was my shit. Like I played it so much, so I didn't know you did the trials carries too. Like Zero used to do the same thing. He said like he was like 14 and people were paying him to carry. Like, did you at least charge people? Yeah, you did too.
All I wanted was a Twitch follow. Like I just wanted to grow my stream. That like anybody that came in there and wanted to carry, all I asked was just a follow. That's
Free
all I
carry,
wanted.
Twitch follow only needed.
Different kind
I'll
of
take
currency.
the Lighthouse. Just follow, man. Please.
Oh my god, I would have done that. I fucking needed my Gallahorn. Never got one in Destiny 1.
Jumbo, you threw.
I did, bro. I did.
So we get into early Apex, and it's right around like COVID time and stuff. I had just like finished up college, and I was actively looking to go for my master's. I graduated with a bachelor's in psychology, and that's when COVID hit. All the universities around me kind of pretty much just shut down, and I wanted to go mostly for like counseling, which you couldn't really do online. That was way more of like a commute and do in person on campus kind of thing. So I was just working at my family's pizzeria, and I was just playing on the side, just trying to kill grind and play as much as I could. I was definitely a late night streamer for sure. And yeah, man, I would just kill grind all night long, play with the boys. And that's when they announced, ALGS for the first time. It was like, they had the autumn, the winter, summer, and spring circuit. And I was like, man, I've been playing, Q snipe scrims here on Xbox for months. And me and my boys were first place in those for like 3 or 4 months straight. That we were just like, all of us are going to get PCs, and we're going to see how we stack up against the big dogs. You know what I mean? And so we moved to PC. Definitely was getting smoked first season I was on there for sure. But then progressively as the splits went through, the rank kept getting higher, gained more confidence, and then, ended up competing with my boy Stink and Kodagami, and we ended up getting signed to CLT, and then it all just kind of started from there.
Started rumbling, got into PL, which is pretty cool. I mean, we'll talk about this in a bit, but like competing in BLGS a little bit is like so humbling. So like just like anyone who gets into pro league at any level, it's crazy the skill level you need to be able to get there. Like I'm
Yeah.
sorry, like it's wild, like the tiers of players in this game.
Yeah, I mean, when we first competed, I think it was our first ever time competing in one of those. I forget which circuit it was, but we had TSM in our group, like OG TSM, and mind you, they were one of the only teams that I was VOD reviewing at the time. So it's early rounds. The skill level can range from very high to like super like new players, and all the rotations that I knew, I had memorized theirs. So like in the first round, we just kept running into them at God spot every time. And I was like, all right, we need to just run the opposite side of the map from these guys, and we'll actually make it to the next round. Because we got smoked by them like 2 times in a row. And I was like, I got to stop thinking about their rotates, bro. They're the ones that are going to do them.
That's jokes. I mean, again, like I want to talk about it in a bit, but like that's actually sort of what I've seen similar with BLGS again, is like a lot of like the feelings of like that winter circuit, autumn circuit era has come back like 3-ish years later. We haven't had that, and it's been really cool to see the different levels of skill in the lobby, and like
that's kind of the feel we wanted for BLGS.
Yeah, no, we'll dive completely into that. But why? Did you have another question?
No, I was just gonna say
okay.
and so obviously you competed for a little while, and then there was a moment I think where I'll let you kind of explain it how you feel, but there was a time where you weren't making some of these lobbies, things weren't going your way necessarily, and then how did it transform into, hey, I'm just gonna start like casting some of these games?
Okay, so I always would just watch party a tournament that I didn't make a finals lobby for. Obviously, if I qualified, I would play. But if there was any tournament that was like an invite only that I didn't get an invite to, I would always watch them anyway because I wanted to learn and I wanted to see. So then I figured, I was like, I mean, if I'm going to do it off stream, how could it hurt just turning the stream on and just doing it if I'm going to do it anyway? And if 5 people show up, cool. If 20, 30, whatever it is, it's better than me just watching it off stream. So I would just kind of just start there. And at first I was pretty bad because I was not like really saying much. I was just kind of sitting there as if I was the viewer of the tournament. You know what I mean? Like I was just sitting there not really saying much. And my chat was just there watching along with me, So like what I do now is a completely different ball game for how I watch party.
Yeah. And it's super interesting to watch too, because and I love that you brought that point up, because I kind of went down, I didn't do it in esports, but I kind of would do the same thing. I used to broadcast like hockey games, and I would do the same exact thing where I would be sitting there watching the game and not saying anything, because you're just watching the game and you're like breaking down like what exactly you would do or whatever. And then you're like, oh shit, I have a microphone in front of me. I got to like say what's happening. How did you kind of get yourself out of that?
Well, so I initially had started doing that right when I moved in with Wig and a prize in LA. And, Wig was doing his thing. I was obviously doing my thing. We were both obviously separate, but still in the same house. And it wasn't until 1 or 2 times that we were together and I got to see like how he watch partied, that I was like, okay, these are thoughts that I already have in my head. I'm just not really saying them out loud. And it's like, I just got to be more vocal. Like, I know I can do it, and I know that I have very good input. I'm just not really saying it because I'm just like thinking it rather than just like speaking out loud. So we started, watching together every now and then. And I started building up a lot more confidence because, when I was watch partying, it was to maybe, 30, 40 people versus like going in his room and it was like a couple thousand. And I definitely was like super nervous at first about, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? Am I talking too much? Am I not talking enough? And it was just repetitions, man, honestly. I think once you get enough practice in it, you get that comfortability and you just know, like, what to say and when to say it.
Did you ever have like that moment where you finished a stream, or maybe you had like a specific call or something like that, and you remember thinking to yourself, okay, I can do this. Like, this is something that I can legitimately do. Was there ever that moment for you?
Off the top of my head, I don't know if I have that answer. I actually have a story for the exact opposite where I questioned, I don't know if I can do this. So we were in Sweden, first time we ever did the BLGS. And the game before, I had gone down to the main desk and I was on the main broadcast for Play Apex, and I think it was like a 15 or 20-minute analysis segment with a couple of the casters down there. Fallout was the host at the time there on the desk, and I was super confident. I felt like I did a great job. Go right back upstairs to our station, and then it was Wig's turn to go down there. So I was solo on the stream. Wig pats me on the back and goes, "Don't worry, man, you got this." There's like peeks over, goes like 8,000 or 9,000 people in there, and in my head I was just like, "Oh my god!" And for like half of a game, I was the only voice. I was the only one on there, and I was shitting myself so bad, bro. I was so nervous because I'm more of the analysis guy. I'm more of looking at the POVs, and it's like when you're the only one doing that, you don't want to be looking at the map too much. You don't want to be zoomed into one POV so much, but you don't want to be zoomed out to so many. Like I was in my head so bad at that time that right when Wiggs sat back down and I got like comfortable again, I was like, I need to practice doing this solo way more if I'm gonna do anything in this road,
I think what was great that came out about that we had talked about in the past is like when you left that tournament, from that moment, and then on top of that moment, like from when you realized like you didn't know some like the APAC North teams, or like just like some of like the lesser known players of the scene, is like you and Wig like looked at each other and you're like, oh, we could do so much better, and like these players deserve so much more, and you guys just put on the work, which is really admirable because of the fact that like I don't think a lot of people that would acknowledge that and put in that level of work to make sure that they put on the best show possible. I think a lot of people would take that opportunity for granted and think that it's always going to be given to them and not like try to like elevate it every single time.
Right, because when we got there, we had both competed for, at least year and a half, 2 years each. We had only really ever played against NA players. If speaking for myself, I never played against anyone that wasn't NA. And obviously Wig had gone to Poland, so he knew. But like, it wasn't until Sweden when I got to really watch these guys' POVs that like, bro, these guys are insane. There's people from Europe, people from, APAC North, APAC South. Like all these guys are so good, but we only are really keying in on the NA ones because those are the ones we know. Imagine if we got out of our comfort zone, we learned, what region these guys are from, what country, what language they speak, how to properly pronounce their names. Because it's like, I mean, I just felt it was almost disrespectful of us to not know how to pronounce people's names, and we're broadcasting this to thousands of people. It didn't feel like we were doing them a service. It felt like more of a disservice at that.
Absolutely, and like that's what I said. Like I thought that was always like really admirable of a thing, and you see it. Like it was kind of funny how you talked about like being really nervous in that one stream. But then, like, if you look like several lands later, Wig loses his voice every single stream, and you have to be the main voice, and like you carry the stream now at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, trust me, bro. With how much he yells, like, you kind of almost just expect him to at least lose a little bit in the volume. It would be a miracle if he was able to keep up that tone all 4 days and not lose his voice towards the end of it.
So I just want to give people like a background on what exactly. So you sit down in the chair. Let's just say this is some random tournament. You sit down in the chair. You are at the B stream. You're on site. You're ready to go. When you sit down, you are not just casting a game. You're not just calling it. You are moving everything. Like you are trying to make sure everything is on the screen. Is that where you're at?
So when we first started, we only had Wig's screen as the potential one to like show on the stream, right? Mine would never ever show. So I would have, like the map up, and I'd be looking at, what quadrants of the map teams are in. I'd see where the next zone was going to pull. And in my head, I would take mental notes of like, okay, by zone 3, this team and that team will probably have to fight. These two will probably have to fight. So in my head, I was just taking mental notes of potential switches that we would have to do. And when a fight would break out, right, obviously Wig screen would be projected on there. And like I said earlier, you wouldn't want to show too much of the map, or you wouldn't want to show too much of nothing, because we know the Apex audience, man. They like to complain a little bit if you're not showing exactly what they want to see.
Bit.
So
Where's TSM?
I would always have Wig doing like the main stuff, and I would be doing like the little camera work in the background, trying to figure out where we were going to switch to next. So compared to what we have now, where, if I'm watching a fight, he could just press a button on a stream deck and it'll just quickly go to my POV. So that would show more action faster for us. Initially, I would have to like tap him on the shoulder and like point, be like point at the screen, be like, yo, switch there. You know what I mean? So it has definitely evolved with how quickly we're able to switch points of action. But yeah, basically I'm constantly surveying the map and all the POVs to make sure that we just are watching as many fights as possible. Because Wig, he excels in like, I call it like the active speak, right? It's like what's on the screen right then and there. He can turn a conversation out of literally nothing, And I don't think I'm bad at it, but I think Wig is better at that. And I'm way better at the finding what fights we're going to go to and just like being almost 2 steps ahead for like the preview of the broadcast. So I focus way more on that. So I'm trying to look at his screen to cast over what he's obviously already saying, but in my peripherals, I'm still trying to like actively switch. So I'm like looking left at his, looking right back at mine, and I'm trying to do like 2 things at once, which is why he talks more than me during the main broadcast, because I'm also actively looking at other stuff too.
Yeah, but it works, man. It's the yin and the yang. Like it goes, he has the active, you have the, hey, this is what's going to happen in the future. And I think that's what, there's a lot of reasons I think the B stream's successful, but that's one of them, because I think you nailed it perfectly on how exactly you guys kind of flow off of one another. The other aspect is obviously the personality. And I think that for a long time, I had always been like, I am strictly a main broadcast guy just because I watch a ton of sports and I'm used to a main broadcast style. Mm-hmm. And for the last 2 tournaments, I was like, you know what? I'm going to like go in, watch the B stream and just kind of figure out what exactly, like, the numbers are crazy, right? Like you see these crazy numbers, and I can honestly say I was blown away with how much more I learned. And this is not a slight to the main broadcast. Like they definitely have a job and they do it well. But I learned so much more as like a casual player to be able to figure out what exactly is going through the minds of some of these players. And then on top of that, I get an extra serving size of some of the wildest conversations I've ever heard. You hear like you hear the 360 triple dick suck. You're like, oh my God. Like, you just start like, you don't know what's
this guy's got low.
This guy loves
lower
to
than
suck
a dick
toes.
hair. This guy's the suck toes thing was coming up again. Lower than
apparently Waltzy loves to suck toes. I don't know what that story is, but you just learn all these things in the background. And so like I am a converted
are scared of that man coming.
Yep. I'm a converted B stream watcher. I won't be afraid to admit it. I was staunchly, I'm a mainstream guy, but I've been like brought over to the B stream side because I love that I'm not only getting better, but I can laugh with it at the same time. When it came to building that chemistry between you and Wig, was that kind of an immediate thing, or did it take a little bit?
So, the way that me and Wig are on stream and off stream is the exact same. And that was from day one, meeting each other and just playing ranked one day from the top 50 Discord. In terms of casting performance, me and him are not, I don't even know how to say this. We don't like to rehearse things. We like to both just go out there and just do it on the fly. And, when we first started, we definitely, I had to pick my spots of when I wanted to talk. And, sometimes we would both talk over each other. But I think the more reps in that we got, we started to figure out like when each other was going to kind of talk. Like I can almost like notice like it's like a breath that he'll take sometimes that I know he's almost like run out of like a sentence. So I know like when I'm about to carry forward of like what he's going to say, because we've just done it so much now that I kind of always just feel we know when one is going to stop talking and the other is going to start, and we just go back and forth with it. But yeah, we don't really like to rehearse. Like all the videos that we do is just kind of we sit down in that chair and it's just go, and whatever happens.
When you guys first started, was there a moment of like you tried to be serious? Like, all right, come on, let's take this seriously. This is a big deal. Let's try to keep this, professional. And then like, or was it always kind of just we're gonna mess around?
Nah. So with how we're able to speak now on the B stream and the stuff that we say, we definitely have the green light, and Respawn and EA definitely are to thank for that. They definitely let us do our thing, and they never ever tried to change who we are or how we act. But that first one in Sweden, we didn't necessarily have that green light. They said, oh yeah, if you curse, like it happens, but like just try to keep like a mental note of it. And I think we were like 3 games in and I heard Wig say fuck like 3 times and I was like, oh my God, we are screwed.
Yeah, but there's also clips of you guys looking at each other going like, you look like shit today, bro. Like
that's how we start every morning.
Seconds.
Literally every morning. That's how we start.
Wake up. Hey, looking like shit today, man. Nice.
And then a nice firm dap right after that.
Yeah. It's just wild. Oh, go ahead, Enoch.
I was just going to ask, so how much of an impact do you think it has? Like you mentioned, like you're able to like pick up on the subtlety of his breath. And like that just is something that comes from just an immense amount of time of being with somebody. And so you guys do live together. How much of an impact do you think that has made in your guys' dynamic?
I mean, I don't think the B stream could be what it is if me and Wig weren't so close and such good friends. I really don't think that it would be possible, because some of the stuff that we say or ramble to in the like heat of the moment when we say it like on the B stream is just like, it's almost as if I'm sitting there and I'm talking to my brother. I mean, it's not like a business partner, it's not an acquaintance. Like I'm literally sitting there with my best friend, knowing that like there's nothing he can say that would like piss me off, and I can do the same to him. I mean, we're both 2 guys. We love the game. We love what we do, and we both have that drive to just try to get to the next step and the next level to make the B stream what it is.
No, and it's absolutely shown. And I think like especially with the most recent 2 lands for the B stream is where I finally, I guess, kind of like fully understood what the need for, not just the need, but like why the B stream and the main broadcast is so valuable. As Wyatt was saying, like there's some people who like that sort of like, I guess you could say like more traditional broadcast, but more so like the mainstream or the like that they have is like they're trying to sort of like always follow a story, and they miss a lot of stuff sometimes because they're trying to still follow like the story that they want to lay out for that game. Where what is good about you guys is like you guys can focus on like getting all that action. You guys get a lot more fights, have that extra fun dynamic. The mainstream tries to do their own thing, but like you guys still have that fun dynamic. And then like Wyatt said, you have like the know-how of like the inside the minds of the players as well. Again, not the mainstream. They're really knowledgeable, but
the main difference I think that people don't understand is that we get to control the narrative and what we're talking about, whereas like the main broadcasters don't really have a say, right? Like they have an observing team who just like plops something right in front of them and just on the fly, they just got to start talking about it. Whereas like me and Wig we can set our own narrative, and the direction of the game and how we want to display it is completely up to like our discretion. So it's definitely 2 different roles. I have a newfound respect for the main broadcast ever since like 4 or 5 tournaments ago when I got to go on there and I was like, oh yeah, this is way different than what I get to do. You know what I mean? And I think that just speaks volumes of how good of an esport Apex is. And I think it has the best viewing experience because there's so many different avenues that you can go. If you want the professional, the main broadcast, you got it. If you want the homey vibe, B stream, you got it. If you want just command center, you want to watch just your favorite team, you got it. There's multiple different language watch parties that are all great too. It's like you can enjoy the game how you want to watch it. You're not forced one way or another. You can literally pick and choose and just flow freely between all of them. And I think that's why Apex is so great, is because they don't try to contain all of that viewership just in one route.
Absolutely. No other game has that like that. Like there's other games like Valorant does watch parties, for example, but it's always just the streamer watching the main broadcast. So there's so much different things you could do. I was gonna like bring up. Oh yeah, I think the funniest bit that kind of came out of the most recent like Germany land was you guys would constantly say it started off we're two guys doing a 5-person job, we're two guys doing a 10-person job. By the end of the tournament, it was two guys doing a 250-person job.
Hey, by the next one, it could be 500. We'll see what it turns into, man. They keep giving us new tech and new stuff that we can do, so the jobs just keep going up, man. I guess the workload just keeps stacking.
Yeah, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with what, like, there's different things that each broadcast brings, but I think what your guys' has done so well is it's kind of united a community, I think, and it's one of the coolest parts about our game. And I mean, I've been doing shows and talking Apex for almost 5 years now, and there's a lot of other games where sometimes I look at something that they have and I go, wow, I really wish our game had that. But I think a lot of games look over at the B stream and they say, "Damn, I wish we had something like that." But you can't just force it. It's got to come organically. It can't just come out of nowhere. And you guys have done a very good job of doing it organically. You kind of answered my question, or this question, earlier, but I kind of want to ask it one more time just to reinforce it. There's never been a time where EA or anybody has said, "Hey, let's tone this part of it." There's never been one of those. I've always wondered that.
I remember one, I think, if you can't.
Okay, so you can share yours, and then I have one I can say.
Well, I was just surprised with some of the stuff you guys were saying this time, but like I remember you being told that you had to stop saying ejac towers.
Okay, that was the one I was going to say.
What you're gonna say?
So
That's such a good one, though.
That was I think it was the second time we went to the UK.
Okay.
I had said ejaculation tower a couple times, and they were all right with it until it was that one where they started in between the breaks, like the hour-long breaks, they would play our broadcast in the main arena. And I think there was like an EA executive there, and I think his like family and like his kids were there, and like loud as day, I hit the ejaculation tower, and I think I got like the message relayed from like Shaheen. He was like, "Yeah, we gotta cut that one. They don't like that one." He was like, his kid just asked him what that was, so you can't say that anymore. I was like, "Oh my god, dude!" I was like, "I'm gonna get fired. I know it."
So that's why they took you guys off in between the breaks. They don't play you guys there
They
anymore.
They added like a censorship where I guess it would like pre-scan what was gonna go on, so it would like bleep out if we cursed. I don't know. The technology is crazy nowadays, but yeah. So now they still do that, but it doesn't get us cursing in it.
No,
that's funny. I still love that, and honestly, like it's something that even if there's one thing they had to take away, I think for the most part, overall, they've been pretty supportive with how you guys have done it because it's been so successful, and they continue to bring you guys back. So I think that's part of the success of it. I wanted to ask you a little bit about just your thoughts too on when I bring up the fact that there's probably some games that look at what we have with the B stream and they look at you two and they say, "Man, I really wish we had that for our game." Do you ever have a moment to yourself where you're thinking, "Wow, like I'm like doing something historic here. Like there's something historic about what we are doing and putting on." And it could, I mean, I don't want to jump the gun too much, but I do truly believe that this could change the way that games are broadcasted in the future. And it could start with this very B stream. Like, do you ever have a moment to yourself where you kind of think like, "Damn, I did something really cool"?
I think most of the time that hits me when it is like the very end of Championship Sunday and we're like closing off like a long weekend of LAN that after, because me and Wig don't really like to look at numbers too much, but we always like to see like where it like stacks up per day, I guess. And it's always on the final day that we finish up and we give each other a big hug, we dap each other up, And then it's like, wow, dude. Wig will say something like, we had this many people that filled up a football stadium. And like in my head, I'm like, yeah, that is pretty nuts, dude. So I definitely get that realization, but a lot of the times I'm more so just very thankful and blessed that it's turned into what it is. Because like I said, when I first started, it was 20, 30, 40 viewers, and I always said in my head, I was like, man, I wish people would ask like my opinion on that, or what I thought of this trade or this play. And now I have people who actually care about my opinion and like what I think about stuff. And I think it's literally the coolest fucking thing in the world, man. I'm just super thankful and blessed that I'm in a position that, people actually care about my opinion or what I think. I think it's just like the coolest thing ever.
What was it like that first time you and Wig sat down to do the B stream live and at LAN or questionably behind a green screen? Still up for debate on that one. Some of the haters are out there. They're fighting the good fight. But that's got to be like just incredible going from two guys sitting in your guys' apartment, ripping it, talking it up, to then just being there.
It was.
And then you talk about
definitely
8 to
very
9,000 where you were nervous.
Yeah.
And it's gotten so much more.
Yeah. It was very surreal. It didn't even feel, like it was honestly real. We sat down in that chair, turned around, and we had like a little window to look through in Sweden, and we saw the main broadcast. And I think both of us had that vision in our heads of like, this is during COVID. There's no fans. Like when we're actually able to have fans, like this is gonna be crazy when people are actually able to come out to these lands. It was a surreal feeling just seeing the main stage with no one there, let alone full arenas now, So it's an awesome feeling for sure. And I just hope that it just keeps going up and Apex just keeps growing.
Yeah, so you mentioned Apex keeps growing. Meanwhile, there's a very large I feel like there's been a very large sentiment that Apex is dying and player base is dropping a little bit. But I'm of the opinion that Apex's greatest days have yet to be played. And I 100% believe that, and that like everything is going. What is your opinion on where this game is heading?
I mean, I definitely think competitive right now in Apex just keeps on growing. And I think that there's still way more to come in terms of like, the casual playing experience and like the ranked experience. I do think it's missing the mark a little bit, but I think when you really break it down to the fundamental level, it almost seems like it's like in reach, like a couple things change for the better and it's like right there. It doesn't feel like it's like so far away that it'll like never come, So
Sure.
I think that, the greatest days are still, not there yet. And we're working our way to it, but I don't think it's like that far out of reach that the game is doomed or anything like that. I really don't.
People have been saying Apex is dying for such a long time. Like we were talking about it before. You said like every day for 3 years, but especially every day a year around this time of year when there's a break between like Pro League and LANs and everything like that, everyone just panics because Twitch viewership is down and player count numbers are down. But like there's like Black Ops 6 just came out. There was like 3 other new games that just came out like recently. Like this is the time of year when everyone's kind of like branching and playing other things, and then after a few months everyone realizes that the shooting is just nothing like freaking Apex, and they come back every single time because it does, right? I do agree that I think that there's things that can be done from the EA side. I think that there's more things that can be done from the creator side. I truthfully do. I think Apex has huge untapped potential though, especially like on the YouTube and Twitch side of things. And I think there was a tweet made by Caution the other day, and he mentioned about how like Jinxie blew up like on a dead game like freaking Rainbow Six, and people were like, well,
Streaming
that
off an
wasn't
Xbox.
streaming off an Xbox, right? Console Rainbow Six. And people were like, oh, well, that wasn't Rainbow Six, that was Jinxie. But exactly, like, right? If he could do that, and he very much revitalized some part of Rainbow Six. I was talking to Bolo, like the Imperial Hal of Rainbow Six, if people are not familiar. I was talking to him in Saudi Arabia, and he even mentioned that like Jinxie really did give that game some second life. And like there's just like, there just could possibly be like that opportunity for like who's that person that could do that for Apex, right? I don't think the game is anywhere
I don't even
near
think
state.
I don't even think it could be one person. I think
Absolutely.
there are a lot of people in Apex, man. Like I say it all the time, like this community has personality, man. There are so many people who have just like a very heartwarming personality, are funny, outgoing, witty. That I don't even think it just has to be one. I think it could be
Absolutely.
many. I think there's a lot of really, really good creators that are on the rise for sure.
Absolutely.
Now you mentioned that there's just a few things that you would change, or you think that they could change, that would make things better for the future and eventually get us to the best days of Apex. Is there anything that kind of stands out in particular?
First, I would definitely go right into ranked. I think like a complete overhaul of how the matchmaking is, what the rewards are, the point system, what winning or losing points. I definitely think that is a great start. One thing I had said on stream a while back that I feel is lacking right now is, when we first started playing, winning a game, like seeing that champions screen brought a certain type of happiness that like it just doesn't hit the same anymore, bro. Like you watch streams and people win games, they are so fast to leave that lobby because like they've seen it a million times. We don't even feel that sense of accomplishment winning a rank game, winning a pub, whatever it may be. People are so quick to leave the lobby, they don't even see the champ screen anymore. That I think even just a completely new like phrase or way to show the winning team, like something could bring back that feeling of like, oh, I just won a game. It's not just like, oh yeah, whatever, bro, just another day in the office.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting you bring that up, because we were talking a little bit before we started up the pod, and you had mentioned kind of the same thing, like it has to do with ranked and everything. And I've always been a big advocate of like there's just not good enough rewards for like what is going on in ranked. Like the rewards make no sense and is very minuscule to what other games offer. But I do think you make a great point with just the UI, like what you see when you're done with the game. And we just talked about new games coming out. For instance, like a Black Ops 6, Call of Duty's always done this, but like right when a game ends, there's just a screen that shows either a final kill cam, and then it immediately goes into the rewards you unlocked, if you leveled up, attachments you unlocked, whatever it may be. I think if Apex added like a different just ending animation for everything, that added on some, different effects, and maybe it showcase some different things. I mean, I think that even like small changes like that, at the end of the day, it may not do a massive difference, but it just shows a little bit of change. Like it just shows that they're willing to make a change. And so I really like that idea moving forward. Did you have any other ideas?
I mean, off the top of my head, just, if creators had the chance to like really be creative in like the custom matches, I definitely think that could bring back some type of, viewership there, whether it's, people creating maps, creating different like mini games, whatever it may be. I also think that from the creator side, it allows them to connect with their community easier. Being able to start a lobby with X amount of people versus like having to have 30. It's like, there might be smaller creators that can't get 30 in a lobby to be able to start a custom hide and seek game. It's like they're not even getting the chance to be with their community in that regard. So I think the whole custom thing is untapped potential as well.
I needed to record something in like on a map the other day, and I had troubles even getting 6 people. Right, I was DMing friends, all the friends were busy. Started asking viewers. I had troubles even getting 6 people to fill up a control lobby. Right, like when I needed to do something like that. I think obviously if I like put more planning into it, I could definitely do like I could easily get that done. But like, yeah, it was just pretty surprising like how difficult it was to get that filled. And like that's just what I'm saying, like, right, like with the sort of content opportunities, I think if we could figure out some sort of way to have that ability, it could do wonders for the game, right? You see games like Fortnite or Rocket League that have so much customizability, and like it's carried a lot of the content, right? Because user generated content, it's like the biggest thing for everything. Like it's
Yeah.
literally what TikTok is made of. um but yeah, I kind of wanted to transition into what I feel like the biggest thing going on right now, though, is BLGS. And I
Let's
think the
talk
first
about it.
thing I wanted to talk about is how did that opportunity sort of come up? Like, was it like you and Wig, you guys noticed, hey, there's going to be like a huge gap between split two playoffs and champs, and like even for yourselves, we want something to sort of watch party, but for the community, we want some competitive. And you approached EA, or did EA sort of realize that gap when they planned the Japan LAN and needed to kind of like fit something, and they thought, hey, it'd be good if we get Wig and Greek involved and do sort of like this BLGS, less professional but still competitive type tournament here where we could test a few things out.
So from what I remember, like, nothing was announced yet for champs. I know they really wanted to go to Japan, and they had been sending representatives over to look at venues to see, what was potential to make this work, right? And I think it's something that a lot of people don't take into consideration is, they don't just decide, oh yeah, we're going to do it here, and then like next week just have like a venue locked in. Like, they need to vet arenas, they need to see potential sponsors, what will the arena allow, then they got to come up with a contract with the arena, they got to sign it, and like that could take months. And there are certain venues in certain countries that they may be pre-booked 6, 10, even a year in advance, right? They don't just get a, here's every arena in the world, you guys just pick wherever you want to go. That's not how that works. So they ended up locking down one in Japan, and the dates that were available was a bit of a bigger gap than what we're used to. So then they kind of wanted to just like spitball ideas back and forth, and they kind of came up with like a tournament series, I guess, per se. And me and Wig didn't get to give every single specific rule, but we got to give our like recommendations to it, right? I think the one that we really recommended was, that it be open to everybody, because the more people participating in it, the bigger it's going to be, right? Whether it's someone at home watching the first week or the second week and then saying, maybe this might be fun to play in. And, they get two buddies who hadn't been on the game in a while, and they just sign up and just get in there. They might get first rounded. They might maybe make the third round, whatever it may be. We wanted it to be open to the community to kind of bring everybody together, because it felt like everything was so circled around the pros that the circle kind of got smaller, that we wanted to open it back up again and give that feeling of what we talked about earlier, like early Apex, like the winter, autumn, spring, and fall circuit, where just like, anybody could be in a lobby. You don't know who's going to be in there. You don't know what the games are going to be like. And, they kind of hashed out all the details, stretched it, as much as they could, so that we have something that's not just whether one day a week or just 1 week long. They wanted to cover like a little bit of span of time. So that's kind of how that became what it is.
Absolutely. Like if it was just a thing where it was just for like teams that were in pro league or like LAN qualified teams or something like that, and you did like added 400K to the prize pool and just did those tournaments, it wouldn't feel any different. I think it would actually be even more confusing, because it'd be like, well, why doesn't this apply to the standard pro league of the year? And why doesn't this apply to LAN? Like, why is it that like if this 20th place team from like the pro league split 2 suddenly is doing good now in BLGS, and maybe they go and win it, they're not at LAN because they didn't qualify like 8-9 weeks ago? Like, I think it would have been like a lot more confusing, where when you open up this open registration, that summer winter circuit, like that whole circuit feels the early online Apex, which I'm sure a lot of fans even today didn't watch. it just feels like it's something special again. It feels like it's like brought the community back, and the fact that there isn't even like a main broadcast, right? You see like there's casters joining, like onsets in it. Like I've been freaking playing. I know,
Yeah,
like I'm
yeah.
talking about that, but like so many people have
I was
come
thinking
out.
about joining one of the weeks too and just playing, just for shits and gigs and
Yeah,
seeing what
like,
happens.
right?
You know?
No, I guess they never told you guys you can't.
No, they told us that if we wanted to, we could.
So there you go, right? Like there's just like there's so much ability, and like with that big gap, like I when I saw the announcement, I always wanted to try it, but like I don't have time to compete in Challenger Circuit when Pro League and everything's going on. And
Yeah.
with the gap, I literally told myself, I was like, this is probably the only time I'll ever get to experience competitive Apex. And like going into the scrims, and like I've been scrimming like 3 times a week for the last month, it has been some of the most fun I've had playing Apex. Frustrating as fuck, but the fact that it actually feels really competitive, like I could get into like diamond lobbies, and I don't really sweat all too much. Like I play a
Yeah.
couple hours a night, I'm fine. I'm actually stressed in these lobbies, but it's so freaking fun to do it, right? I don't care how bad I do.
Yeah. No, I mean that's kind of how we thought about it. Is just like, it felt like everything in the last, year and a half, 2 years was just for the pros. You know what I mean? Like just like tier one competition only. And I think after a certain amount of time, everybody watching from home kind of wants to size up, see how they stack up against them. And it's like, it's fun. The amount of support that the BLGS has gotten, in just these 2 weeks has been insane, man. Like I can't even describe it. Seeing people, tweet at me or come into my chat and saying like, hey, I hadn't played Apex in a month or two until like I saw the BLGS announcement. I got 2 of my boys. We went in there, had like so much fun. I got squad wiped by Sweet 4 times. I had like 2 of my mods made teams and are in there. It's like, bro, everybody is so happy just to literally be in there participating, regardless of results. It like gave them like a purpose, something to like, bro, you know how many people have never scrimmed before?
Mhm.
And the fact to just join a scrim lobby, regardless of the level, to just like go in there and play a private lobby game with 20 teams who are trying to win. Like most people never ever got to experience that before, so that just seeing the amount of support and tweets from people saying that they're loving watching, playing, participating. It's been more than what we even hoped for, to be honest.
Yeah, it really does give that sort of. Oh, real quick, I was just saying it gives like what that Fortnite Cash Cup like vibe does, but I feel like even more because it feels like the stakes are at least higher in my opinion. Like again, Fortnite Cash Cups, anyone could join, and like it happens so frequent because this is something we haven't had before. The stakes just feel like higher, and damn, is it a humbling experience, right? Like you said, like you want to go in there, say you size up. I think it's really cool. When I started watching Apex, I always thought it was like an easier esport to get into, which I truthfully do at the beginning. I think that it was because everyone was new to the game, obviously. But now we're at a point where you got the elites, you got the alliances, the Falcons, like the guys who are the top of the pros. You have your pros, you have your tier 2 pros who are still going to run your lobby if there's no other pro team, and then you have all these amateurs, right? And it's crazy to see like that tiers where like I was in the lobby with some tier 2 pros and they were just running over everyone. And like, not to be mean to them, once they get in with the pros, they can't hold up. And it's like, that's pretty cool that skill gap exists. That's pretty cool.
People talk about Apex being gate kept. It's like, well, I can't get the tier 1 practice that these guys get. I can't get into this tournament. It's like, okay, here you go. Here's your shot. Here's your shot. Sign up. See how you size up. Every week so far, we've seen some tier 1 teams not make it to the finals. We've seen some new names making it to quarters, semis, even some to the finals. It's like that could be anybody. You know what I mean? If you get that road and you play well and you do well those 4 games, like that could be anybody's shot. It could literally be anybody.
And I think that's the beauty of this entire thing. And we were talking earlier about what the game needs to do a better job of to kind of continue and keep its life cycle going. And something I've said on this podcast for years now has been that I think this game is being purely kept alive by its pro scene. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think some of the stuff you talked about earlier where it's like people don't even stick around to see the you win screen anymore.
Yeah.
I think that just goes with a game being, out for so long. And I think you just get a weird burnout with it no matter what, just because it's been there forever. You've seen it for such a long time. And I think that with this game, what's kept it so fresh and so alive is its pros and the ALGS and all of these things. And with the BLGS, what it's done is, number one, like you said earlier, it's gotten rid of this weird gatekeeping situation that's been happening with the pros. Number two, it's given a lot of smaller or pros who are maybe younger, just barely getting into the scene, or maybe pros that were tier 2 who are still trying to make it into that tier 1 level. It's given them a prize pool that they can actually grind for. Another big problem we've talked about on this podcast for years is, it's like, why would you try to get into ALGS now if you're not a pro, unless you're absolutely insane, because there's just not the money's not there for it. A lot of these pros got started with COVID, and that was a very weird one-off situation. That's not going to happen very often. What the BLGS has done is it's added on to this entire situation that I have believed that this game is being kept alive by its pro scene. And now there's a whole nother avenue for players to give it an attempt, give it a try. We even talked earlier about how rank doesn't feel the same anymore because it doesn't feel competitive. It's like, if you want to go have some compete in your lobbies, this is how you do it. And you can do it with anybody. You can do it with your friends. You could do it with somebody you're trying to go pro with. You could do it however you want. And I think the beauty of this entire thing is, you were talking about, you think this game's best days haven't been seen yet, and you were also actively contributing to continuing and making some of the best days that this game's ever seen. And I think it's beautiful. I think it's awesome, man. Because we've been talking about this exact thing on this podcast for a long time. The way I related it was always in baseball, they have the pros, and then they have the farm leagues where it's like AAA, AA, single A. I always had said, it would be great if Apex had that, where they had like a league that was maybe, not at the top, or at least there was a lot more involvement, because then you could see probably a lot more players come through the woodwork and really showcase what they have, all their talent and stuff like that. But there just never was an opportunity. Now with the BLGS, there is that opportunity, and I love seeing it, man. It's awesome to see.
And I mean, you spoke about it too, like with the prize pool and stuff. It's like, because it's combined, I think the beauty of it is that it's more than just, Saturday, Sunday, finals Tuesday, right? Like, you have scrims on Monday right before the finals. You have Thursday, Friday, Wednesday, all, like, every day there's something that someone gets to play, right? And there have been, tier 2 scrims, tier 3 scrims. There might even be tier 4 scrims for all I know. But like, I know there are people in my community, at least, who are literally scrimming every day, and they never really had that choice or avenue to even do that, right? But because that's there and everyone can kind of find somewhere to at least get some games in, it keeps people playing. It gives them something to do at least every day. And I think that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. I think it's the best part. And I think adding on to the changes that could be made in the future to keep, the life cycle of Apex alive is, if we started to add some things within ranked and just in the actual game itself that kind of pivoted more towards the pros and ALGS and BLGS type things. Like, if like when you load into the game, a lot of times there's a message of the day. Sometimes I've noticed with Valorant, they're very like locked in with their pro scene. And like, when you go into the game, you'll see a lot of like, oh, this was the team that won. This is like a different, skin pack for whatever. And Apex does do that a little bit with the teams that won lands. But I think if you were like loading into a game of Apex or something like that, and while you were waiting, they showed like top moments from BLGS, ALGS while you were waiting. Imagine something like that. Like, if you want to continue this game's life cycle, we know that it all comes down to the pros and what they do. Showcase them more within the actual ranked session of the game. And I think it would really keep people involved. And like you said, playing the game. That's really all we need, is just more people playing the game.
I think that goes back to what we were just saying too, is that it doesn't even, what you just said doesn't seem so far-fetched that it could never happen, right? Like, it just seems like something that could easily get implemented, and it just comes down to time, like when it gets implemented. And like almost immediately you think it would bring something to the game, and I think that's why I have such high hopes for the game, is because nothing that we can talk about seems so far out of reach and like impossible to happen.
I mean, you got your face in the game for the first time too, though. The little BLGS thing. That's
The
gotta be
hollow
cool.
spray, bro. That was crazy, man.
Wait, there's the hollow spray, but then there's even the BLGS announcement with you guys scrolling through there. Like the fact that like like you went from like playing this, like you said, like to having like being in the game has got to be pretty freaking cool. Too.
It's a
when you
surreal
fire
feeling
that
for
up.
sure. Just having people tag me in photos or send me stuff of that announcement. Like when that went out, that was pretty cool. And I'm just very, very thankful and blessed to be here and have this opportunity, man. And I don't want anyone to ever think that I'm taking it for granted. That's for sure.
From the trenches.
Hey, we used to crank out those 12-hour pub streams together. Yeah, I know you remember.
Of course.
We would join up in that Discord and both say another late night and be like, "Yep, another day in the office."
Got our clock in.
With I know a lot of pros at first because of the scrims were all like saying, the quality of this BLGS is like, they were kind of like saying it was ass. Let's be real, which I thought was bullshit. I can't believe people were fucking complaining about $400,000 being added to a prize pool when they had nothing better to do. But like now that we've had 2 weeks, like you said, the support's been kind of crazy. It's been good, but also too, from your perspective, like how have you felt the games have been? Like I mean, I haven't been able to watch too much, obviously, like being involved with it a little bit, but I feel like they've been pretty competitive at certain points. It's been, and then like you said, like the upsets, like Falcons didn't make finals last week. GG, I know those are your boys. They didn't make like finals this week. But then we got teams like Usaki's team who back weeks. This was like not a pro team, kind of scrambled together. I think they threw their team together and they've now made back-to-back finals, which is like that's a cool story to see come out of this. So yeah, what is your perspective about like sort of like some of the upsets that you've seen, the competition, and then some of those like underdogs coming out of nowhere?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's hitting certain points of what I would expect. That first day, you kind of expect certain teams to do well, and they have been. But I think the coolest part is getting every map in rotation, and not everybody has the utmost experience in all those maps, right? There are zones some people have never played before, never rotated from. And at the same time, they also have no idea if someone's about to land on their head or not. Like the BLGS is just so gritty and just like an all out war at all times because you just never know what's going to happen. And I think the quality of the games have shown that no matter what the map is, bro, every single one so far that we've seen, there have been points where it is ring 5, and I have seen minimum 10 squads alive, which we do not see in scrims ever.
Yeah.
And that goes to show that like when there's actually a prize on the line and there is something to play for, no matter what the map is, no matter what the zone is, like there are people staying alive trying to win that damn game. You know what I mean? People thought, oh, KC is ass. Don't even put like Olympus. Like I've seen ring 5, 11 squads on Olympus. I've seen 12 squads ring 5 in KC. I don't think people even thought that was possible anymore. And the fact that like each region gets their own, and back to what you were saying, like Usaki's team and stuff like that. It's cool that we have South America incorporated as well. We're seeing some of the women's teams give it a shot and play in there too. And like that just makes my heart happy, man. Just seeing everyone just going in there and just giving it their best shot.
Yeah. I've been loving seeing everything come out of it. It's truly, I think, one of the best opportunities if you are like an up-and-coming pro or a content creator, and like obviously the pros, like this is what they do every day, but nonetheless, if you're not trying to compete in BLGS right now, you're just missing out on one of like the bigger opportunities out there. Like I guess obviously like the time commitments there, you gotta have the time commitment regardless.
Of course.
Speaking of the maps though, right, you mentioned like like how it's been so competitive. E-District was confirmed for champs now, right? Everyone's been talking about that. Yeah, I was gonna say like also too though, with seeing now competition on E-District finally, how have you felt like that's been? Like what do you think of it as a map for comp? I think it's like great, but like what do you think?
It's amazing. I don't really have any complaints. I think the only thing that I'm wondering, I guess, is when they go back to like ALGS style and stuff, the POI draft. I want to see how those are going to work for 3 maps and how the POIs are going to get divvied out. But in terms of just sheer content, viewing experience, and just the map in general, I think it's been amazing. I love E-District. It's so refreshing to watch the games on it because there's that an original feeling of like, you could watch a zero or a sweet, and there are times where they don't know what to do. It's like, how long has it been that you've seen them be in a position, in a zone, in a spot of uncertainty of like what the best play is? I think that's the coolest part, bro, is that like we're just having to see people do shit on the fly again. And we haven't had that in years.
Yeah, for sure. No, in the city style of E District, every end game feels like a skyhook end game, which are some of my favorite when it comes to fucking World's Edge, right? So like my only thing right now is like, and POI draft will probably solve some of this, is that early game trying to loot in the POIs, and like you guys probably get this from like ranking on it too. In the POIs, they just literally the actual loot spots are too spread out. My team was dropping Galleria, and that is the worst fucking POI to loot. I have to go into every single cubby just to get a peek if there's a gun, and I look in there and there's like a blue like freaking heavy mag, and I don't need it, and I'm like, I'm out, and like it's just a pain in the ass to loot. But other than that, I have nothing but good things to say about the map. I'm happy to see it get into the mix now.
Yeah, I honestly was surprised that they added it for champs. I thought that was going to be a year 5 thing, but hey, fuck it.
I will say, I mean,
we'll
no idea logistically how they get 3 maps in a POI. Like, how do you if you it was like 1st and 21st, what happens now? How do you like work a 3rd map into that? I don't know.
We'll figure it out later.
I got faith. I got faith that they'll figure out a system that'll be
got plenty of
as
time.
fair as it could be. I have the utmost faith that they will find a way.
Yeah.
To make it worthwhile for sure.
No, I look forward to it.
And that was, I mean, just adding the POI draft in general. Look at what that did for the game. You know what I mean? And that started out as just like an idea that people had. They took that feedback, they made it happen. And now we have a whole nother aspect that like on top of, LAN games, we have me and Wig going down to the main broadcast and they have analysts for the POI draft thinking who won the draft, who lost the draft, what was an interesting pick. Like it's honestly
content.
Amazing, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
It just adds more content. Like he said, we almost printed out Cliff_side t-shirts from this podcast. We almost had those out. Like that was something we thought
I would have
about
bought
doing.
one, honestly.
That's a fumble. Why didn't we?
We probably should. We probably should. But yeah, it's just like it's the content, and that's what it comes down to. And I think the BLGS adds the content. Also, as a podcast that does a lot of extensive research into logos, I love the BLGS logo. I love the use of the lime green. I just wanted to throw that out there.
And
that was all them. That had nothing to do with me and Wig. They came up with the name BLGS too.
I'm gonna pretend like
brought
you
it
guys
brought it to us, and we're like, that sounds pretty fire. I like it.
Yeah. I love
On
it,
that
though.
note, we also analyzed DAPs quite heavily, and I gotta say, I do think Greek and Wig have some of like S tier
Top tier.
DAPs. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah, we talk.
I think so. That's the East Coast, baby.
Yeah, we talk about it especially like for like championship level DAPs. Like some of the pros need to work on them. I know a team's not winning LAN if they don't have a good DAP. But like, if you guys were on stage, maybe you guys would have it just on the level of the DAP.
Yeah. I mean, dude, like I said, because we live with each other, like I probably dap that man up 15 times a day.
Lots of
we can start doing
repetitions.
no look daps if we wanted to. It just becomes so casual with it.
We're gonna have to see some of those.
Yeah, I think if you ever notice one on the B stream where you see them celebrate after maybe like a win in like the group stage, just toss in if you think if it's like a championship level DAP
celebration,
or not. Like,
okay,
or a celebration.
We call it a celebration.
Start calling them out right after just S tier.
Yeah,
right as the
we've-
clap happens.
It's something that I've noticed. I kind of brought it up on the pod where I watched Sweet win a game in the group stages, and there was just a horrendous attempt at either like a side hug. Maybe it was like he like tried to high five and then kind of moved out, went back, and then I said, "There's no way he's winning that LAN today." And he didn't because he wasn't championship level.
Another one I remember specifically, and sorry to Madness, I'm gonna put him on blast here, but like it was me and Wyatt were sitting in the stands at LA, and Furia just won, and Wyatt's like a big Furia fan. Like he was hyped up, but like this is the one where Madness jumps up, and I don't know why they stuck him next to Quesion. So he jumps, and he doesn't even get the Quesion's chest, and he goes for the dab. He kind of misses it, and Wyatt's kind of excited. It was like, but like. See that celebration? He's like, "Wow, you're right, bro." And they didn't even make finals that LAN. So
it's one of those where I immediately looked over and I was
not a championship level celebration whatsoever.
Right off the DAP, bro.
Yeah, you can just tell.
You can make that a segment on the podcast, bro. Analyze the DAPs. You like get to zoom in right on it.
Yeah, we talk
That'd
about
be fire.
Yeah. I always bring it back up, and it's always something I'm like, I'll see it in the middle of the broadcast. I'm like, no, they're not winning. I don't care how good they're doing right now. They're not winning. And to be fair, it's very easy because there's only one winner out of like 40
Giving
teams.
DPS a new meaning, bro. Daps per second.
Daps per second. Yeah.
I did say, like, at my
it.
first LA LAN, I was really getting the reps in with Daps at that LAN, meeting everyone for the first time. I was putting up rookie level numbers, I think. Rookie of the year.
Do you have the key to a good DAP? Is there a key to a good DAP?
I think it's all in the angle of the hand going into it. It's all in the angle and just being loose with it. You can't be too stiff with the DAP.
That's the thing.
Okay.
There's a lot about it in confidence, I think. It's something that I struggle with. Sometimes awkward first interaction with someone because I'm not confident at DAP.
Yeah.
Like going into it that it's just gonna be a good DAP because the person on the other end has the same type of energy, same type of hand movements. Like you can't think about it too hard or it's gonna be a bad DAP.
Exactly.
And it all comes down to the noise that is created from if you don't get a loud enough decibel and it doesn't feel like it was a good it could feel great, but you need the sound to like accompany it. Like it has to be,
it's like a little pop.
There has to be like a pop, Yeah. I'm glad we broke that down for everybody. I'm glad. That down.
I'm glad you guys asked about it.
All right. Well, I mean, that's just about it. But we always have Enoch ask the final question of the pod.
Before
Are you
each
ready?
question, I just want to do. So typically what we do for pros, we do top bunk, bottom bunk. Unfortunately, you don't compete. But typically, what we do for the casters instead, we have a different question that I want to continue going here. What was like your favorite venue to do BLGS to do the B stream from? I think I know the answer. I think I remember asking you this, but regardless, what was your favorite venue that you got to do B streams from? And it could even you could even include like that Japan one that you did there too.
Honestly, I'm probably gonna say that the second time that we went to the UK, the first time that we had a setup right off the main stage, and I couldn't even like put it into words, bro. When teams would die or when a crazy play was made, you would literally feel the floor vibrating from like all the fans in the stage. And that was the first time we were able to like zoom in on people's faces. We started having a couple like players just right off the side walking over to the B stream. And that was the first time I felt like fully immersed. Like I felt like I might as well have just been on that main stage because we were so close. It felt like the realest it's ever felt. I think that was probably my favorite one.
Okay.
In terms of setup we've had.
I thought you were going to say Raleigh because of all the fans standing behind. So a good answer. I like that. Yeah.
But see, Raleigh was the best that we had in terms of fan experience and being close to everybody. But we barely saw the stage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't get to see any of the stage. I got both of that at that the one in the UK because we'd finish up breaks and the crowd was right next to us. People were throwing shit down to us to sign, throwing it back up. Pictures. It was we got the best of everything in that one, in my opinion. I loved it so much.
Yeah, no, I love that. Or I think it was at Champs where there's a clip I love with Phony. They like messed up like a car play, and he walked onto the B stream. He's like, "Don't let me drive. I don't have a license." I just love that. I love that. That we got a thing like that.
All right, you want to hit him with it?
Yes. All right, Greek. The question that everybody gets asked, because everybody who comes on the pod is performing in the top 1% in the area that they're performing in, and you certainly fit the bill for that. And so, on your journey to the point where you're at now, what has been the most important thing you've learned?
Most important thing that I've learned.
That's okay. Yeah. And to give more background into the question, that somebody, regardless of the area that they were pursuing, being in the top 1% in, could apply to their journey to get there.
I think I'm going to go with to never forget where you started or how you began, because I think it's very easy to get like lost in where the end goal is, that you forget just how you started that journey. And I think that it keeps me very grounded and humble to every time I keep an achievement to look back at, how I got there, who helped me get there. And usually it's my chat or obviously me and Wig doing it together. But just knowing that everybody was a part of the journey. I don't think it's just my journey. I think it's my community's journey. So I think it's very, very good to be mindful of how you started that journey and what you started with.
Beautiful. I
Love
love
it.
that. I love that. Well, Greek, it's been a pleasure having you on, man. It's been
I
awesome.
appreciate you guys having me,
And
man.
and we're locked in on the BLGS right now, and we're hoping to see this thing pop off like it has been so far. So once again, man, thanks for your time. Appreciate you
Thanks,
hopping
man. It
on.
means a lot. I appreciate you guys having me. Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
All right, ladies and gents, that was Greek. Shout out to our boy Greek. That was a hell of a time. That was a great interview right there. Lots of good ideas being thrown around for the future of Apex Legends. Ladies and gents, we're going to hit the heart to heart. And Jumba, you usually go first on this.
My heart to heart will be competing in BLGS. It's been a hell of a time. It's been, yeah, it's just been so freaking fun. Humbling, as I mentioned in the interview with Greek, that truthfully, you know, I felt like I could stack up to the pros to some level, and I think mechanically, I actually like not like the top pros, but mechanically, I still feel like I could fare in those lobbies. But the decisions you need to make, like the rotates, the being able to like know what to do in the late game, to keep composure, to guide your team into those positions, and then to be able to take and win a 3v3 fight. Individual mechanics don't matter at that point. It's humbling how good people are at this game. I knew I wasn't going to be like any like crazy. I thought I'd get first rounded, and I did. But yeah, like it was pretty funny. I'll tell quickly one story in our first week because I haven't got to talk about this. Our first lobby, there was 11 teams. Now, when we got into the lobby, only 10 showed up, and we died really early in the first game. But it didn't matter because top 10 go through, so we thought we basically had a bye. But then for game 2, they let the 11th team back in, and so now we had to make sure that we got points to qualify. But the 11th team was a solo, so it shouldn't have mattered until we died really early in game 2, and then we tried to take zone early in game 3, and a team saw that we were the only team holding down a spot in zone, so they ran at our asses and just tore us apart. And then in game 4, we're like, fuck, we are on the chopping block, and there is a solo in this game right now that is less than 4 points away from us, and they get 2 points just for clocking into the game. So do we, but they get 2 points for just clocking into the game. And we are now scared because this solo has the opportunity to knock us out of this tournament. And we died off drop because we saw someone try to contest the POI we wanted, and we swerved away, and we just had no loot, no nothing. We jumped on by 2 teams, and we died. And it was very stressful. We didn't even notice that the solo insta died, so we were fine the whole time, but we were stressed for a good 15 minutes thinking we weren't going to qualify in an 11-team lobby when the 11th team was a solo. So yeah, that was really fun.
That would have been tough to live down.
That would have been a tough. I mean, that would have been a slingshot and a half. You might have low key wanted to take that, and because like you would have been pulling it back,
bro. Like the thing is like as someone who talks about Apex consistently on like a weekly basis on this podcast, monthly basis in my videos, people look up to me for my opinion. I know at this point, to get in a game and to not qualify at that level would just destroy credibility. People would be like, holy crap, you're bad at the game. Why the fuck should we care about you? But the thing I was scared about the most is we have a Discord, all the guys we play zombies with, like Jay, the boys from the GMB podcast and everything like that. And the thing that was going through my head the most is that if I do not qualify right now, I do not know what the fuck these guys are going to say and how they're going to grill me. I will not live this shit down. I was so terrified of that.
I would not grill you after that. I would. It would take a little. No, I would not grill you after that. Maybe Jay would. I wouldn't grill you immediately after. I'd give you like a week. I'd be like, okay, and then maybe after that, then I'd like poke a little bit. But like fresh off of that, I probably wouldn't do that.
No, I don't think any one of you would have fresh because I think I would have been a bit too heated. Yeah. But like I said, like I know a week later, I'd just like if I ever said anything and been like, Wyatt, you're ass at the game, you could just hit me back with and you got round 1 with 11 fucking teams, and like this guy was
according to my calculation.
I never have a rebuttal. I just never have a rebuttal. I lose every argument, so it doesn't matter. We made it through.
Doesn't matter.
It didn't happen. And like this past weekend, I think we still got kicked out in round 1, but we got surprise contested in game 2, which kind of sucked. If we didn't have that, we definitely go through. But I thought my team played really good. I was really happy about like how we played. My composure was a lot better. I felt like my calls in later games were pretty good. I had a cool kind of solo rap play from like 8th to 4th, which nice wig and like 12,000 people were all spectating live. So that was all cool. Now that all being said, I loved my team. We have broken up. We've split up.
No.
It wouldn't be a pro journey if after a month and a half the team didn't break apart. So I'm just trying to really get the full experience of what it's like to be a pro. No, truthfully, we just have all our own reasons like for why. There's absolutely nothing. This might sound weird, but like I know people have been invested in the journey. There's absolutely no bad blood. Just like it's a lot. It's a big time commitment, and like
So you hate them, is what
yeah,
you're saying.
I despise
Oh.
them. I despise them with a
Okay.
passion. That is exactly what I'm saying. No, it was
That
fun,
makes
but
sense.
like I'm still gonna be competing. I still have another team. But yeah, that team we've just broken apart. I'm not gonna announce the new team yet, not yet.
Oh, damn. Okay.
We're
But,
gonna
like,
keep it close.
We will.
Work
We
in
will
si- make
soon.
your moves in silence.
I wanna.
Yeah.
I wanna get like some
Lasagna.
scrims underneath us first.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I like that. I'll go next with my heart to heart. Black Ops 6 came out. And if you've been listening to the heart to hearts, I've been talking a big game on zombies. And listen, we will give our full thoughts on Black Ops 6 zombies on Packapod because that's what that whole show is for. But I will tell you a story of what I've just gone through in the last 2 days. Now, I am off the full week for work for baby bonding time. And so last night, I was like, hey, I'm going to try some of these Dark Ops challenges. And if you're not aware, those are like really hard challenges and you get like a special little calling card and they don't really tell you in the game how to do them. You just kind of have to look it up online. I just so happened to stumble across one on Twitter where it was like, I just finished a challenge. I got every gun out of the box. It took forever. It was way harder than I thought. And I go, there's no fucking way that's that hard. You just get every gun out of the box. It's super easy. So then I started to do it. And I was doing it with one of my friends, Brian. He had to leave. And then I eventually died. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try it again. And Jumba had just hopped in Discord. So me and him both tried it. And we had thought we had done it. Because at least I thought I had gotten
Well, we got
all
to.
of mine.
You remember, I got to like 18, and you had got to 15 guns, and I got to 18 out of what we thought was 33 guns, and then we died.
Mhm.
Then we were like, "Fuck!" But that kind of went fast. It only took 45 minutes to get to 18. We're like, "Surely we could do this gun pretty quick." So we ran it again.
Yeah. So we run it again, and I think there's 33, and I had gotten to 33. Jumba had gotten to 32, and then we died because the amount of boss zombies that were in this game was insane. And also, we had hit the box so many times that the game was glitching out and like it was like bugging to where you couldn't see certain things coming at you. And there's like a mangler zombie who shoots a shot at you that like is almost impossible to avoid in just a straight like hallway. I got shot by 3 of those, instantly went down. I couldn't see the shots coming at me. I go down, and then Jumbo tries to, save me. It doesn't work.
There was just so much freaking.
It was around 33. It was
around 33. There's so many bosses, and like I was spending all my points on just hitting the box with the last gun that I couldn't upgrade my weapons anymore, and so like I wasn't doing enough damage to clear things out fast enough. I had like so much shit on me. I couldn't I was just running in circles trying to reset, and I was never able to.
Yeah,
I don't remember how I died.
I just went down and you tried to save me and you couldn't. And then so then Jumbo's like, all right, well, I don't get it, but at least you got it. And we go back into the lobby and I didn't get shit. And I'm trying to figure out how we didn't do this. I guess what had happened was this specific challenge was bugged and there's a certain gun that will show up in the box, but it'll never be there. And so we both didn't get it. And then after Jumbo went to bed, right after that challenge, I was like, I'm going to do a different Dark Ops challenge. I am going to play solo to round 25, only using the knife, my fists, and the combat axe. So I do that the first time. I get there. I complete it. I think I got it. I didn't get it. I'm thinking, okay, maybe I bought this item. Maybe I shouldn't have bought this item. So then this morning, I do the same thing, get to round 25, do it again. I didn't get it again, even though I didn't buy this item. So now I'm really pissed off. And I'm the type of guy where if there's a challenge in front of me that I keep not getting, but it's like right there, I obsess over it until I get it. third time right before this podcast, literally like 20 minutes before we hopped in here. I did it for the third time. I was like, please tell me it's there. I got it. So I completed the challenge. Black Ops 6 so far, it's been all right. There's some things like I said, we have some thoughts. We'll talk about it in Packapod, but Zombies is back and I'm having a great time with Zombies. So that's my heart to heart. E, your heart to heart.
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep it short and simple, and it's just gonna be to enjoy every moment that you can.
I
And
love
to
that.
not take them for granted.
I love that. I love
And
that very much.
Staying in the present moment is very nice.
Just keeping it simple.
Keeping it simple. Keeping it simple. That's all you got to do. Well, ladies and gents, that should just about do it for this week's episode of the Apex the podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in as always, and thank you to Greek for hopping on the show for us. It was a great time. Can't wait to have him back on. Ladies and gents, we'll catch you guys next week for another episode of the Apex, where we're going to talk some more BLGS most likely and some other news, anything that comes up in the competitive world. We'll see you guys soon. See ya.